All right, so guys, before you buy a house in St. Pete, you need to know one thing, and that is how to read seller signals. That's the most important thing right now. You're going to be looking for price drops, days on the market, back on the market listings, anything where the seller shows their hand essentially and tells you that they're motivated to sell. There's still a big sort of divergence in sellers right now. There are people who are holding on to the old pricing from a couple of years ago. Probably not going to be able to make a deal with them, especially on newly listed properties where the seller has an inflated sense of the value of the house. You want to be looking at motivation when you make offers on a house. So this week I picked two homes that I think actually make a lot of sense, and we're going to run both of them through BuyWise as we always do, and it will save you time. You should not be going out looking at bad houses. You never want to go see a house where afterwards your agent turns to you and says, this was all in the description, or I could have found this out before we drove out here. So we want to look for motivation signals. You know, whenever you see a house that was listed at like whatever 510 and ends up selling for 480, you know, that's not luck. That's because a buyer and their agent spotted a seller that was motivated and ready to go, and they made the right offer, and it just makes everything easier. And I think BuyWise makes that easier for you. BuyWise.homes takes you 60 seconds to run a house through. You don't have to register, no email, no sign up. Just go, click start, answer the questions, and I think it will help you out. And I actually had a client a couple of weeks ago that called me. They were using it a few times, and we ran a couple of houses through it, made an offer 18 grand under asking after a couple of price cuts, now under contract. So it works. It works if you use it. So let's just jump right into this. The first house that we're going to see, well, first let's start with BuyWise. We'll get that sort of queued up. And what we want to do is go through each house, answer these questions. We get the score, tells us whether or not we should waste our time going out to see it. So the first house that we're going to look at today is this. I mean, this is a stunning house, and I normally don't do $1 million houses because that's, you know, out of the price range of let's face it, most people. But there's a couple of reasons that I picked this one. One is this is historic Kenwood. And if you can get into a neighborhood and you want to be close to downtown, this is the place to do it. And the thing that caught my eye, even though this also looks ridiculous too, which $450 a square foot, historic Kenwood is got one of the highest densities of bungalows in the country. And there's some bungalows in there that are going for 556, 650 a square foot. Now, a lot of times they're smaller, like twos that are like maybe 1,200 square feet, but there's a lot of smaller houses there. It's a historic neighborhood. It's a cool neighborhood. And if you're not familiar with where it is, before we get into answering all the questions, let me just show you, because it's, you know, about as good a location. It is on the edge of downtown. And let me just back out here so you can see where we're at. So this is kind of the core of downtown right here. And you go right down Central, and there's the house. But beyond that, this Grand Central District, which used to be sort of mostly antique shops, and there wasn't much in the way of restaurants down there, in the last 10 or 15 years has grown up, you know, quite a bit. So this whole stretch here on Central is just filled with restaurants, bars, antique stores, retail. You know, 34th Street is kind of the hard dividing line of downtown. Once you get on the other side, you know, there's really nothing commercially interesting this way. But this is, you could take a quick walk to Central and you have all that you want to do right there. So let's just jump into this house. And first question is days on market. Let's see. This house has been on for about 2 months now. So we'll do 31 to 60 days. So how many price drops have they had? They've had 2 price drops. So started at 1.2, dropped it at 100, dropped it another 50. So they're down $150,000 on an historic Kenwood house, which is, so they're more than $50,000 on the size of the price drops. You can see where we're going here. When was the last price drop? They just dropped it a few days ago. So it was less than 30 days. So this is an engaged seller and an engaged listing agent trying to find the market. Was this house pending and back on the market? This is a new question that we added. The reason that we asked this is because, I'll tell you, oftentimes nobody's more motivated than a seller who had a contract on their house and it fell through for some reason. If it was financing, that's not a big deal at all. If it was a inspection issue, that will be disclosed to you so you can find out, well, the seller backed out because something was an issue with the plumbing, but it got fixed. That seller is ready to go. So if it was pending, that's a good sign. In this case, it's a no. And the age of the roof on this one, this is I looked at, I'm going to show you the street view real quick, because you can see how this house almost looks brand new. That the street view, which is only a couple of years old, I mean, look at this. This house is a complete and total renovation. From what I could see from the records, because it was a private sale, the last time it sold, I think it was 1975. So 50 years, same owner, and this was the condition. Investor came in, bought it, and did everything. You can see the shingles are up here now. So we know that the age of the roof is 0 to 5 years. I mean, pretty much everything in this house is new. The HVAC system is brand new. And then now we're going to look for any seller motivation. This is a new question too. Any seller motivation phrases in the description. And these things are like seller motivated, obviously, closing costs paid, new roof with acceptable offer, bring all offers. Sometimes you'll see that in there, and that is a really, really good sign that a seller is ready to go. And I'm not saying it smacks of desperation, but it usually comes after a couple of months and they're not getting any offers and they're just kind of out there begging. And scanning through here, I don't see any of that, and I'm not surprised, simply because an investor bought this house, put a lot of money in it. I think they paid around $600 for it. I could be wrong on that. So they put a couple hundred into it, and they're looking to make maybe 150 or so on this house. So in this case, the answer is no. There's no seller motivation phrases in the description. Does this house fit in with the neighborhood? Now, this is an interesting question for this house. It's a gorgeous house, 2,300 square feet. It is not a bungalow style house. And I'm going to try to do just a quick street view here. Hopefully you can get a feel. Now this house is right across from the park, which is Seminole Park. And it's a nice park. It's not like there's any, I don't think there are any issues there. But just going down the street, we're just going to kind of go to the side. You can see, we'll just go down this street. Everything is a bungalow, basically. I'm not doing a very good job here. And there's like more of a colonial style house. Probably went the wrong way here, but all around this park, there are beautiful bungalows. And so I would say, yes, this house does fit in with the area. Might be a little on the big side at this 2,300 square feet. And is the house in a high-risk flood zone? I don't even have to look. I'll just show you where. If you use homes.com like I do, click on all MLS data, which may only be for agents. I'm not sure. But the flood zone here is an X, which I don't think there's any even pockets of high-risk flood zone in the Historic Kenwood area. So we're going to say, no, this is not a high-risk flood zone. And what were our first impressions of this listing? Now, this is the sort of counterintuitive, but this house is a definite scroll stopper, great photos. And what that often means is that, as you know, if you're shopping for houses, you're scrolling, certain pictures will catch your eye, dusk photos especially. But chief among those is this view here, which is an aerial view, which you're allowed to do, of the pool, and it's in the dead middle of the summer. So you can imagine if somebody's looking for a house with a pool in a good location and they've got budget, this is going to definitely stop their scroll. So that would tell me people with budget are going to go see this house. And that's a negative in a sense, because people are not going to skip past this house. So this is a definite scroll stopper, great photos. And let's see what we've got here. We've got a buy score of 76. So this is a go see. The home shows clear signs of value, multiple price drops, newer systems, a seller adjusting to the market. It's not a higher score simply because it hasn't been on the market that long. It's only 2 price drops. And who's not going to want to stop and look at the pictures, the rest of the pictures of this house, if this is the first picture. So drop a comment, let me know what you think. I'm going to go through the rest of the pictures just so you get a feel for the house. It is absolutely gorgeous. There's a dusk shot. I mean, look at these giant impact windows they got in the front. Nice big kind of formal living area in the front of the house. They've got a TV there too. And then look at the back, it's just like all glass. You could tell these are impact windows. You usually can tell with sliders. I mean, the size of the frame here alone will tell you that these are impact. You know, for this house alone, probably 50 grand, 40 grand in windows alone. And you got a beautiful view of the pool. I mean, the only thing, the kitchen is not like open. You know, it's just got two stools here, so it's sort of tucked in there. So it's not an eat-in kitchen, which, you know, could be a deal breaker for some, but I think the house has plenty of room, and it's got a nice little dining area, but it's a big, big open kitchen. You could probably put an island in there if you wanted. So this would have been, you can tell usually by the little step down here, this might have been the breezeway for this house, and then the garage might have been over here. I didn't see the floor plan, but we can reasonably expect that this was probably open at some point, and this was going out because of the step down here, and even this outlet looks like an exterior outlet, but they've turned it into a nice little sitting area, a foosball table. I mean, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous house, and kudos to the stager and the photographer. Just absolutely beautiful photos. I say kudos to the stager and the photographer. It's really the listing agent that puts all this stuff together, so kudos to her as well. So redone top to bottom this house. I don't see anything wrong with it at all. It's absolutely gorgeous. The only thing wrong with it for most people is that, you know, this budget at $1,050,000 might be a little bit high, but $450 a square foot for 2,300 square feet, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath in historic Kenwood. You could walk to stuff. I mean, it's not like right next to stuff. It's at 3rd, so you got to go over 3 blocks and then up or down Central, but there is stuff close by, coffee shops and all that kind of stuff. So drop a comment. Let me know what you think about this one. The buy score at, what do we say, 76 here is a definite go see. I would be willing to bet, because there are certain neighborhoods in St. Pete where there's a built-up demand before houses go on the market, and that's Old Northeast, maybe to a lesser degree Snell Isle, Crescent Lake, and Historic Kenwood. People wait until something comes on the market and they jump and they're patient. But I don't think this house is going to last forever. I think at $975, it goes off at $975. Developer or the flipper makes money, everybody's happy, and you get essentially a new house. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. I love this house. I think you should go see it if that's your budget. And let's move on to house number 2. Okay, and here we are at house number 2. A bit more modest, obviously. The price is $384 with a nice price drop. So let's just jump into the BuyWise and see if this is something that we should go see. How many days has this one been on the market? And that is 48 days. You see right here. So less than 60, 31 to 60 days on the market. And how many price drops have we had on this one? Let's see how motivated these folks are. And here we go. So they went on May 28th. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4 price drops. So 4 total price drops on this one, which is a good sign given that it's only been on the market a fairly short period of time. The total size of the price drops were down 66,000 after just 48 days on the market. This is already looking really good here. The last price drop was just a couple of days ago, so less than 30 days. We like to see regular price drops as the listing agent and the owner sort of search for the market. Was this house ever pending and to go back on the market? It was not. It hasn't been under contract yet. And let's see, the age of the roof, I don't think this was disclosed in here at all. It's a 3.2. They didn't include any of that. A very short description here, which is okay. So this is an unknown. So we're just going to put 11 to 20 years. And same with the AC. They didn't include any of that. Any seller motivation phrases in the description. Very, very short. Nothing of note there. And then, does the house fit in with the neighborhood? Now, this is a typical, this is technically in the Distant Heights neighborhood, so I'm going to say this one probably does, but let's take a quick look at the street view. So these are originally started as sort of winter homes, and a lot of times they've been added onto. I think this one has as well. And so you can see they're sort of the flatter roof houses, and I would say this one definitely fits in with the neighborhood. And is this house in a high-risk flood zone? There are some parts out here where it can get a little bit floody. I'm going to guess that it's not because I know this neighborhood pretty well. And here we are. Let me just back out so you can get a little bit better feel for the actual location. Here's downtown. Here's the house. Get easily out to the beaches in a number of different ways. About 20 minutes. Probably about 20 minutes to the downtown core as well. So really good location. And let's double check on this flood zone. And the answer to that is no. Flood zone X, remember X is good, X500 is good, A or AE is bad. Recommend not buying a unelevated house in a flood zone. It's entirely up to you, but that's just my own personal opinion. So this one is not in a flood zone. And our first impressions, I'm going to say, I don't, just looking at this first picture, I'm going to kind of even say negative. It doesn't really have any great curb appeal. And that's a positive, honestly, because we want people to skip these houses. We want to be the only one to have gone to see it this week. We don't want competition when we're shopping. And there's nothing wrong with the picture. I just don't think that it's a great picture. I would have maybe clean this out a little bit, some fresh mulch in here, which always looks nice. Maybe pressure wash the driveway. Not include these overhanging branches in the photo. Either get those trimmed or try to come up with a better angle. I don't know. But again, this is a positive situation when we see this. So let's go through. Well, we already have the score here. So let's take a look at the score on this one. And we're at a 75. So this is a definite go see. And I can see why. The cover photo is not great. We've had, for the price of this house, a $66,000 price drop is pretty good. And even though the house doesn't look that big, it is a 3.2 with 1,545 square feet. Anytime I see sub 250 a square foot, if it's move-in ready, that's going to be a deal in the city of St. Pete. Once you get out, maybe Pinellas Park or Leelman or some of those Kenneth City areas, that pricing becomes normal. But when you're under 250 a square foot for a 3.2 in St. Pete, I would argue that is, it's all relative, but that is affordable. So let's buzz through the pictures to see if we even like the house, because if we do, it's a definite go see. See, like if this were my house, the first thing I would do is change this front door, maybe put something with a glass in here, get rid of these things. There's some things I think that are holding this house back. Shrubs should never be, in my opinion, above the window line, unless you have a nice palm or something. But trimming those back so that you're going to get more light in here. I just think a little bit of sort of sprucing up would, add some positive interest to this house, because, it's got a nice little paver out to the driveway. There's a lot of good things about this house. Super clean inside, not, modern by any stretch. These are old windows. You can tell by the aluminum frames here. So at some point, those would want to be changed. And then sort of the neutral beige tile. Nothing wrong with that. And so it's a, kind of a narrow room when you walk into. But look at this. We got a beautiful kitchen with solid service countertop. So this has been redone at some point. It does feel bright. We have a split AC here. So a nice living room in the back. And this house is nice and bright. Look at all the windows. We've got French doors, one sliding, 2 windows, plenty of light back here, and yet it feels private because you get a lot of vegetation back here. The bedrooms are going to be a little bit smaller, a 3.2 at 1,500 square feet. But there's some really nice updates. The bathrooms are updated. The floors look like they're in good shape. It could use a little bit, and I think those windows will be like probably the first thing that I would do. Beautiful screen porch in the back. Feels nice and private. It's huge. There's a shed back here. Nice big shed. So drop a comment. Let me know what you think about this one. This is a definite go see. I mean, if you're looking for a 3.2, not terribly far from downtown, fairly almost equidistant from to the beaches and downtown, and at a price that I would say is a 2022 or 2021 price, I would say pretty good. So drop a comment, let me know what you think. And remember, what we're trying to do here is look for motivation signals. And let's just go through those real quick before we end here. So Motivation signals. First thing you want to do, look at the number of days on the market. 60 or plus, sellers are starting to get a little bit antsy. Look for those price reductions. How many price drops? 3, 4, 5 price drops. That signals motivation. Look for listing description clues. When listing agent starts adding seller will help with closing costs, seller motivated, bring all offers, I mean, they're almost screaming and begging you to come in and take a look at their house. So those are good signs as well. Look for pending back on the market. A lot of people overlook this. If a house has been under contract as a seller, you're excited, you're planning your move, the contract falls apart, either financing or inspection or whatever the case might be, and that seller wants to get back under contract at or near that price probably as soon as possible. So look for pending back on market. Look for those motivation signals. My name is Steve Reynolds. If you are looking in St. Pete, give me a call, send me an email, shoot me a text. Let me know how I can help. If you see a house you like, we'll run it through BuyWise.homes. Subscribe to the channel for more tips. And if you're ready to talk, schedule a 15-minute strategy session with me. Email me or give me a call, and we'll get that set up and get you going. That's it for this week, and I will see you next time.